The young master lost his memory again. He forgot my obedience and loyalty. His mind was all over the place. He either thought I was plotting to run away or believed I was cheating on him. Everyone was used to it. The butler skillfully brought out the usual things the young master uses on me whenever he loses his memory: chains, handcuffs, candles. I waved it off. I'm a fragile alpha now. I can't handle that kind of treatment. The butler looked skeptical. How fragile can an alpha really be? I'd tell him, but it'd scare him to death. I'm fragile enough to be knocked up by an Omega. 1. You're pregnant. The old man behind the solid oak desk jumped to his feet in shock. I forced myself to hand over the freshly printed medical report. The baby is the young master's. It's early, barely 2 months in. My stomach is still flat. Nothing shows yet. He wiped his reading glasses again and again, peered at the report through the lenses with great scrutiny. A servant passing by muttered under his breath, "An alpha getting pregnant? Good Lord." I turned my head away, trying to suppress the sudden wave of shame. Just then, someone knocked on the door. The butler stood outside, hesitant. "Young master's been looking for you non-stop. He's starting to lose control." At the same moment, Beckett's voice echoed from outside. "Where's Colton? Where the hell are you hiding him? Colton, get out here. Don't make me come find you. If I catch you, I swear." "What then?" I glanced at the toolkit in the butler's hands. No need to ask. The answer was obvious. I've always belonged to him. If he fed me pineapple, I'd never ask for an apple. If he wanted to go to the kitchen, I'd never suggest we go to the bedroom. If he told me to kneel, I'd never dare lie down. Everyone knew what kind of relationship we had. Me, an alpha, got played by an omega so thoroughly that I ended up pregnant right under everyone's nose. I closed my eyes, knees starting to buckle. "Grandfather, I want to resign." Clang! The chain in the butler's hand slipped and hit the floor. Beckett stormed in just in time to see me kneeling there. "Get up, Colton's mine. If you've got a problem, take it up with me. What gives you the right to make him kneel?" He threw his jacket over me, still warm from his body, and scooped me up in his arms. "I'm sorry I'm late. I shouldn't have let you suffer like this." I kept my head down and said nothing. The young master had lost his memory, again. 2. This wasn't the first time. Every time Beckett loses his memory, his mind gets twisted. Sometimes he forgets I'm an alpha. Sometimes he forgets he's an omega. All he remembers is how to take. Endlessly. We were back in the familiar basement again. I shut my eyes, avoiding the sight of the wall covered in restraints, but my body trembled anyway. Beckett gently laid me down on the bed, while locking me in place. He whispered, "Don't be scared. As long as you behave, I won't have to use those things on you." He was lying. He'd used them all. Came home late, smiled at someone else, forgot something I promised him. He always had a reason. "You knew today was my heat. Why'd you go see grandfather first?" Here we go again. Normally, I'd let him do whatever he wanted, but not this time. There's a little life growing inside me, fragile and new. Can I do it myself? I lifted my neck and nuzzled against him. "Just this once. Be gentle with me, okay?" Beckett stood at the edge of the bed, stiff as a board, didn't say yes, didn't say no. My attempt to please him faltered halfway through. If he forced me, I wouldn't be able to fight back. A shadow fell over me. Beckett silently undid the cuffs on my wrists, shifted me further onto the bed, then laid down next to me. His ears were flushed red. "Then don't slack off," he murmured. "When we're together, he's always the one in control, especially when his mind is unstable. His stamina is frightening. Even though I'm a high-ranked alpha, I can barely keep up. Maybe that's why. Tonight, he was especially gentle. Even when I fumbled, he patiently guided me through every motion, coaxing me softly. At the final moment, as I climbed toward release alone, I bit down hard on Beckett's scent gland, marked him. I wouldn't dare do that under normal circumstances, but the baby needed it. I gulped down his scent greedily, as if soaking in jasmine syrup. From what I knew, being marked was painful, but Beckett merely narrowed his eyes, smiling faintly like he was enjoying every second. "You can give me a full mark if you want," he said, brushing my hair. "I love it when you need me." His voice was soft, almost hypnotic. I opened my mouth again, nearly sinking my teeth deep into his gland. Marking during pregnancy drains a lot from the carrier. After a temporary mark, I collapsed into Beckett's arms, so tired. "Hold me." I must have lost it completely. I'd actually dared to ask Beckett, again, for something. Maybe that's just the courage of someone who's already planning to quit. 3. But Beckett wasn't mad. After tidying up, he pulled me into his arms. "That's it? You're seriously just gonna stop here? That's cheating," I mumbled while yawning. "When Beckett gets going, He usually doesn't stop until morning, but I was really done for tonight. You can make it up to me tomorrow. Beckett pinched my cheek and examined me for a moment. To my surprise, he actually let me fall asleep. I had no idea how much pheromone it would take to sustain a full pregnancy, so I kept asking for it, again and again, like a clingy Omega, telling him I liked it, telling him I couldn't control myself, telling him I couldn't go a second without his scent. I even pulled out a tiny vial and asked him to fill it for me. Beckett gave a low chuckle, indulging me completely. He really is strange. When I try to please him, he torments me. When I act spoiled, he's somehow satisfied. He tied the now-filled vial around my neck. When I'm not around, rub this on. Let everyone know you're mine. I shook my head quickly. His expression darkened. Then who do you want to belong to? Carefully, I removed the vial and put it away. It's valuable. I want to save it. The jasmine sweet scent in the room was so thick it was almost suffocating, but Beckett's frustration made it cower in the corners like steam pushed away. A faint green tea aroma reached out from that corner, nudging the jasmine scent, coaxing it to draw closer to its source. Beckett pressed his forehead against mine, his Adam's apple bobbing. It took him a while before he finally whispered, "Who taught you that? You trying to kill me?" He stopped holding back, bit down on my gland and nodded me in reverse, an omega marking an alpha, like he wanted to consume me whole, but he still believed my lame excuse about having a stomachache. He shielded my belly the entire time, careful not to put any pressure on it. It felt better than anything ever had, and just like that, I got the amount of pheromone I needed. His memory loss was a side effect of his heat. Once the heat passed, the amnesia would go away, but his heat only came twice a year, and each episode nearly killed me. While Beckett slept deeply, the butler helped smuggle me out. The old man approved my resignation, on one condition: I had to carry the baby to term. Their bloodline was thin. Every heir mattered. If Beckett weren't a special case, they wouldn't have let me leave with the child. They arranged a series of thorough medical checks. Honestly, I wanted to say everything was fine. I could feel it. After days of being nourished by Beckett's pheromones, the baby was doing great, as long as Beckett stayed mentally stable and continued giving me what I needed, as long as he didn't lash out violently, as long as he didn't pry me open against my will and force me to say I loved him. The baby would grow safely. I took the wealth they offered and slowly walked away from the place I had lived for 15 years. 4. Snowflakes fell from a pale sky, just like the day Beckett brought me home. I was 5, standing on the street corner, holding a frozen, filthy bun in my arms. That's when Beckett showed up. He knelt down and asked me my name, how old I was, and where I lived. I clutched the bun like it was my life. It wasn't until Beckett stuffed my pockets with brightly colored candies that I swallowed and said, "Soup. For Grandpa." Hot. Grandpa hadn't gotten out of bed for 3 days. His body was colder than the falling snow. The blankets couldn't warm him. He wouldn't eat even when I fed him. He needed soup, something hot. That would fix him, I thought. Beckett carried 2 cans of beef soup and held my hand as we walked through the narrow, messy alley. I hadn't brought a key. No one answered the door when I knocked. Beckett told me to wait outside with the soup. He climbed in through the window to open the door for me, but he came back almost right away. Soon after, a group of people dressed in black arrived and broke down the door. They carried Grandpa out. Beckett held me tightly in his arms, not letting me run after them, not letting me look. But he didn't stop me from screaming and crying, didn't stop me from kicking and biting. Later, he gave me a key to the cemetery. Your grandpa turned into an angel and flew away. Before he left, he asked me to bring you home. Liar. Grandpa didn't have front teeth. He couldn't be an angel. Angels are beautiful. They should look like him. It took me a long time to understand that Grandpa, the man who raised me, was gone. Beckett wasn't the villain who took him away. He was the one who saved me. He was 5 years older than me, already in school. One day when he came home, the servants encouraged me to go to him. I walked up and grabbed his hand, whispering shyly, "Big brother." Beckett froze for a moment, then broke into a beaming smile. He lifted me up in the air and caught me safely. "There you are, my little troublemaker." The servants motioned for me to keep going. They'd taught me a lot of things to say. They said if I wanted to stay in this house, I had to make Beckett like me, awkward and small. I squirmed in his arms and kicked my feet, softly calling, "Big brother, big brother." At the time, and for many years after, I truly believed Beckett was the best brother in the whole world, until that unexpected second gender awakening. 5. It happened the day I turned 19. I'd saved up all my money to buy a diamond ring. I was going to confess to the prettiest girl on campus, but I walked right into her car, with some older guy. kissing like their lives depended on it. I chased that guy's car for miles on my bike, until they pulled into some private club. Beckett found me the next day. I had drowned myself in alcohol all night and passed out. When I saw him, I grabbed onto the hem of his tailored pants and cried like the world was ending. That was the first time I saw a truly cold and terrifying side of Beckett. He'd taken over the family business early and was known for being ruthless. But he'd always spoiled me. If I asked for a star, he'd give me the moon. Back then, I hadn't even presented as an Omega or Alpha. Still, his presence alone made it hard to breathe. Sobriety hit me like a slap. Forget the girl. Forget the ring. Forget first love. I just followed him home, like a scolded child. But I barely got 2 steps in before he threw me over his shoulder. He moved fast. My stomach pressed hard against his shoulder. It made me want to puke. Young master, I was wrong. Bro, easy. I squirmed, accidentally pressing against the swollen heat of his gland. Beckett tossed me into the back seat of the car. The driver, already sensing what was happening, floored it toward the estate. His coat was thrown over my head, cutting off my view. Then Beckett crawled in under the coat, grabbing my jaw, kissing me hard. I couldn't breathe. I pushed at his shoulders and pointed at the rising divider window. But Beckett didn't stop. He just pulled the coat tighter, shielding us. His warm fingers found my not yet formed gland and pressed down hard. Your scent. I want your scent. 6. It was Beckett who wasn't right. Yet everyone tied me up. Needle after needle injected liquids into my body. Through the glass, I locked eyes with Beckett, his eyes bloodshot red. Behind him, the birthday decorations he had painstakingly put up for me stood lonely on the wall, waiting all night for their guest of honor, who never came. My body burned with feverish heat, and the normally faint scents in the air suddenly grew thick and choking. The overwhelming pheromones made my head spin. Beckett carried me into the locked basement. Sorry, I can't wait for your natural shift anymore. His breath was heavy, his smile wide. Colton, you're amazing, a true alpha. That was the first time I smelled Beckett's pheromones. It was jasmine, so rich it was like freshly brewed jasmine tea mixed with honeyed alcohol. Beckett toyed with my newly developed gland, enjoying the fear and trembling on my face. Big brother's waiting for you to grow up. How can you chase after someone else? At the moment he bared his canines. My mind cleared for a split second. It was all planned by him, everything. That campus queen was just an excuse he used to force my shift. It's not forcing you. It's because you weren't obedient. You didn't take the chance I gave you. Without letting me speak, Beckett bit my gland. The jasmine scent in the air subtly shifted. I gradually lost the will to resist. I was confused though. Beckett, who'd always been the top-ranked Omega, how could he be an Omega? And if he was an Omega, why was he marking me in reverse? When I woke again, I was forced to kneel at Grandpa's feet. The kindly face I used to see peeled away, revealing a cruel core underneath. Beckett is an enigma with apparent alpha traits. If it weren't for you, he'd be the perfect heir. He fooled everyone into thinking he was an alpha. In truth, he's waiting for you, using this second shift opportunity to become the other half that belongs to you. The cane struck hard and heavy across my back. Only when I spat out blood and my vision blurred did Grandpa signal to stop. Beckett is forcing himself to shift into an Omega. If he survives, you'll take care of him devotedly. If he dies young, since he cares so much for you, go be with him. Like a rag, I was thrown back to Beckett, who was mid-shift and utterly irrational. God was merciful. Beckett survived. An enigma can mark an alpha. Though a shifted enigma can't stably maintain its enigma traits and mark an alpha, it has a chance to choose its gender again during the second shift. But an apparent alpha enigma shifting into an Omega is unnatural, like a reversal of the natural order. So Beckett was punished. Every heat, he'd lose his memory and spiral into mental chaos. 7. I missed a step, and the sudden feeling of weightlessness jolted me awake. Why was I dreaming about Beckett again? The dark, blurry shapes in my vision slowly faded. A burning ache at the back of my neck warned me the sensitive phase was starting. The tiny glass vial on my chest holding jasmine pheromones was almost empty. After hesitating, I poured the last of the pheromones onto my gland and rubbed it in hard. Tears came naturally to my eyes. An alpha reduced to relying on this just to get through their vulnerable period. The suppressed sharp pain between my lips startled someone outside. A gentle voice called from outside the bedroom door. Colton, you're awake. Can I come in? I injected another dose of suppressant, reapplied my pheromone blocking patch, confirmed my scent was sealed, then opened the door. Standing there was a small, traditionally delicate Omega. I'm in my sensitive phase. You don't have to come over for the next few days. Roman glanced at the jasmine-filled bedroom behind me and frowned. Is your condition worse again? A tickling irritation rose in my throat and I nearly coughed my lungs out leaning against the door. Roman was considerate. He helped me collapse onto the living room sofa. He poured me a cup of warm water and placed it within reach. Are you hallucinating? Hearing things? Seeing things? What symptoms are you having this time? It took me a long moment to warm out of my frozen numbness. I only smiled weakly at Roman. I'm here to see you home. Roman bit his lip, hesitated in his gaze, but then decisively tore off his pheromone blocking patch. Actually, my scent's jasmine too. Colton, your body can't keep enduring this. Mark me. My pupils shrank. I grabbed Roman's patch and pressed it back on. You're crazy. No Omega ever voluntarily releases their pheromones. You'll get hurt for sure. This world isn't fair. An alpha can mark any Omega at will, but once an Omega is marked, they can't accept another alpha's mark. Even a temporary mark takes time to fade. Roman leaned in with my resistance and reapplied his patch. Colton, you saved me. I'm willing to be marked by you. His light jasmine scent was like a flame refusing to go out, trying to spark life into my parched soul that had been dry for 4 years. This small Omega was proving his determination with actions. Maybe he was right. Maybe I did need an Omega. If I accepted him, maybe all this pain could finally ease. As Roman nervously leaned in, a wave of despair flooded my heart and my body relaxed slowly. Just as our lips were about to meet, a voice exploded in the back of my mind. Colton, I can't bear to lose you, so you better behave. 8. Why? Am I not good enough? Roman sat in the passenger seat, crying like a kid. You're more than good. I grabbed the tissue box from the back seat, hesitated for a moment, then handed the box along with some tissues to Roman. Roman was the closest thing to a perfect Omega I'd ever met. He followed the rules, never scheming all day to drain an alpha dry. He was patient, never paranoid enough to swap out things just because I glanced at something. He was thoughtful, never throwing me into the bathtub and torturing me for hours just because I accidentally caught another person's scent. He loved the baby and never saw the child as a wedge between us or threatened to make me abort. Most importantly, he was healthy. He didn't apologize with a clueless face after doing or saying something wrong, leaving me with nowhere to release my frustration. If leaving was about starting a new life, then Roman was my best choice. But I already have an Omega. I won't mark anyone else, I said softly, maybe as a warning to myself, or to Roman, that psycho-controlling brother who raised you. Roman sniffled loudly and snapped out the word sharply. He's just sick. Don't say that about him. My voice dropped cold, barely controlled. I had plenty of complaints about Beckett, but no one else had the right to judge him. Roman was the assistant to my previous therapist. He knew my past inside out. After my first session, he asked me multiple times if I wanted to report it to the police. I refused. I was just having trouble sleeping and went to therapy to fix that. But you were held captive, abused, and you show serious psychosomatic symptoms. I'd answered him the same way then. He's just sick. So, I didn't blame him. Roman was about to say more. I pointed outside the car. You're home. It snowed again today. A beta stood by the roadside holding an umbrella, waiting for who knows how long. Roman barely noticed me. He unbuckled his seatbelt and hurried out. I told you not to get out to wait for me. You're already fragile. What if you get sick again? The beta kindly said something to Roman and even waved politely at me inside the car. Roman suddenly remembered me, awkwardly came back and explained, that's my neighbor's little brother. He's not well. I smiled and interrupted, don't miss out on someone who truly likes you. That beta was too young, hadn't learned to rein in his possessiveness yet. I knew that feeling all too well. Roman's concern was genuine. They had a good chance at happiness. 9. Passing by a candy store, I suddenly decided to go in. I'd been a sugar addict as a kid, until I wrecked my teeth and Beckett strictly limited my candy intake. Only if I behaved well would I get a single candy as a reward. I felt I'd done well today, no indulgence, and even managed to matchmake a little couple. 2 candies were justified. The walk back to the parking lot was a bit long. The snow on the ground was thick, my boots crunching with every step. I kicked and tapped my way, playing as I walked. At a street corner, I suddenly slipped inside an alley. Soft but urgent footsteps followed behind me. I leaned against the wall with my hands in my pockets, ready to trap this little thief who'd been tailing me all along. But unexpectedly, I faced a sharp-eyed face. Beckett. The moment we met, he seemed even more flustered than I was. I wasn't following you on purpose. It's just, you look familiar. Ha! I studied his expression carefully, no sign of anything unusual. Do you know me? Surprisingly, he caught a clue from my reaction. I withdrew my hand from the wall, shook my head silently, and stepped back 2 paces. warning him with my eyes not to follow me. The car was already running, but my mind was full of Beckett. Lost his memory again? How's his body holding up? Had even I forgotten? Was it safe to leave him alone like that? I sneered inside. An heir treasured like gold by Grandpa. Did I really need to feel this way for him? Get up. I kicked Beckett, still squatting and dazed, speaking harshly. I was full of disgust for myself for being so inconsistent. After all this time, he finally shows up, and he's still here. Is he stupid? Doesn't he know how cold it is? Beckett's eyes were vacant, staring at me blankly. I clicked my tongue. Fine. Stay here then. I'm done with you. He scrambled up, stumbled into me. In the angle I couldn't see, a sly gleam of triumph flashed in his eyes. Beckett climbed into my car, calming down and gradually returning to his usual steady self, but his fingers kept twitching nervously. Where are you taking me? To find Uncle Hat. Didn't you get lost? You know me. Beckett spoke firmly, then added an explanation. You looked way too sure you were lost. I gave him a good job look and stayed silent. Back from the police station, I collapsed on the sofa. The suppressant left me drained, not just scent-wise but in spirit. The room filled with jasmine, lulling me towards sleep, but the constantly vibrating phone ruined the moment. Beckett had escaped from the police station. 10. I put on my clothes, ready to help with the investigation. When I opened the door, the very culprit causing everyone's tension was crouched right outside my door, peeling candy wrappers, eating the candy I gave him. Sorry. Beckett picked up the wrappers, flattened them carefully, folded them neatly, and put them in his pocket. I told the person on the phone I was bringing someone in. How did you find this place? I asked. Beckett plopped on the sofa like a boss. If not for the slight confusion in his eyes, he'd look like he came to accuse me. I saw you filling out forms at the police station. He touched his chest and continued. It wanted to see you. I couldn't control it. I chuckled. Smooth talker. Life must be interesting for him. Beckett inspected the room, and when he saw the infant formula, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. You have a kid? I nodded. I'm in my sensitive phase these days, so I sent him to a care facility. Want something to drink? Plain water okay. Got green tea. The water I poured into the glass sloshed crookedly, and I quickly wiped the spill, pretending nothing. I took a bottle of green tea from the fridge and handed it over. Beckett didn't take it. Is your pheromone green tea? My breath caught. Was his memory suddenly better? Now he was interrogating me. Seeing my silence, Beckett rambled on. Then it is. You know me but won't admit it. An Omega in a sensitive phase not nearby. Yet you buy so much jasmine. My pheromone's jasmine. And I know your scent well. You wouldn't be the one who had a fling with me and then ran off, would you? His flawed logic accidentally pieced together something close to the truth. My throat felt dry and itchy. I chose to be stubborn. If I wasn't an alpha and you weren't an omega, maybe these words would be more convincing. Beckett frowned, struggling with his reason. But my body says otherwise. It reacts to you. What does it want from me? I pushed against him, unsure if I was angry or amused, trying to command me, control me, or imprison me. I want to hold you, Beckett said firmly. May I hold you? May I, such polite wording. If he hadn't pulled me so deeply into him just now, I might have thought he'd changed. Don't hold me so tight. It hurts. Loosen up. Just then, the door suddenly opened. Colton, I have to go on a business trip with my teacher for a few days. I brought you some pheromones just in case. The room fell into silence. 3 people, 6 eyes, all darting quickly. Roman sniffed the air, gave me a knowing look, dropped the pheromones, and made a swift exit. 11. His pheromone is jasmine too, so, is this whole room full of jasmine flowers for me or for him? Beckett scowled, hoisting me up like I owed him an explanation and wouldn't let it go otherwise. The suppressant was in full effect, and I desperately needed sleep. It's not for him. I pressed my hand against Beckett's mouth to stop him from arguing, then pointed to the injection site in my crook of the arm. I'm going to sleep. Do whatever you want. I dove headfirst under the covers, and he sank down behind me. I opened one eye, shooting a look at the shameless person behind me. Beckett said, you told me to do whatever I want. I replied, is it appropriate for an omega to crawl into an alpha's bed? Beckett grinned, you're being sexist. In no time at all, he'd wrapped me tightly in his arms. He sighed contentedly. I don't think I've felt this satisfied in a long time. I forgot why we even broke up, but my heart keeps telling me I really like you. I'm sorry for everything I did to make you unhappy before. Can we start over? My silent heart was suddenly tugged by a small hand, painful and unexpected. I closed my eyes and fell asleep, soothed by the scent of jasmine. When I opened them again, It was the next day. Beckett hadn't woken yet. The morning sun cast a faint pink glow over him through the window. I was a bit dazed that I had actually spent a peaceful night with Beckett. As far as I remembered, ever since I'd differentiated, we'd never slept so peacefully. I was mentally prepared for him to make a fuss last night, so I could steal some pheromone. But it ended just like that. Had my attraction to him declined? I felt bitter inside. The delicate balance of jasmine and green tea scent lingered in the room. I greedily inhaled. My eyes landed on Beckett's smooth neck. Without thinking, I leaned closer, my gaze tracing the curve beneath his collar. There lay the pheromone I craved. I really needed it now. Just as I was weighing how to trick Beckett one more time and get away unscathed, the person beneath me suddenly opened his eyes. Our roles reversed. Beckett's eyes twinkled with a smile. Don't recognize me? Playing cold? Ha! I was speechless. He'd been awake all along, just waiting for me to fall into his trap. You put out pheromones first to lure me, I said, annoyed. So you like me, right? When did Beckett get so good at turning my logic against me? I pushed him off with my shoulders. If you're awake, get up. You should go home. You can't stay here all the time. Beckett hugged me through the blanket. I'm not going anywhere. My head hurts badly, and my body feels awful. I can't leave now. I used all my strength to crawl out from under him. Turning around, he was lying back on the bed with his eyes shut tight. Hey, come on, bro. It's no fun if you just lie there cheating. I reached out to pull him up, but was shocked by his scorching hot body that could probably cook batter like a griddle. That tempting pink glow, he was seriously about to burn up. 12. At the hospital, you were the one who said me staying with him would only worsen his mental state. That's why I left. I flipped through Beckett's medical records. The deeper I looked, the more my brow furrowed. Finally, I slammed the thick stack of records down on the private doctor's desk. The doctor pinched his nose bridge, dark circles drooping to his cheeks. You didn't leave. He let you go. What do you mean? I pulled over a chair and sat down, blocking the doctor behind the desk until I got an answer. The doctor looked deeply at me, then pulled up a video on his tablet. In it, I was talking aggressively into the air, furious and even attacking myself physically. Beckett arrived just in time to hold me back, preventing further self-harm, only to get hurt by my fists. The doctor put away the tablet. A chill ran through me under his patient gaze. Goosebumps rose. I recognized the date, the only time Beckett had ever laid hands on me, but none of the events in the video were in my memory. The doctor said sympathetically, Beckett was the first to realize you were ill. When he forced himself to differentiate into an Omega, he lost consciousness and took emergency measures on you. Since then, you developed PTSD. Beckett came to me several times, but conventional treatments didn't work. The only option was to remove you from that environment. So, 4 years ago, you didn't escape on your own. Beckett differentiated into an Omega for you. He needs you. But, Beckett really does lose his memory during heat. White flashes exploded in my mind. Impossible dark shapes writhed in the corners of my vision, faint and shifting. Some memories faded, others became clear. Beckett never hurt me, from beginning to end. Never once. The doctor rubbed his temples. His forehead creased further. You both have issues. You better come on time for treatment from now on. I still had so many questions. The assistant suddenly rushed in. Bad news. Beckett's pheromones are in chaos. He's refusing any alpha's pheromones, even artificial ones. 13. Ah! The doctor slammed his fist on the desk, letting out a surprisingly uncool, office worker-style roar of frustration. His resentful glare made me uneasy, so I stood up on my own. Want me to try? The new assistant didn't know me and completely ignored my offer. Thanks for the kindness, but Beckett's condition is extremely severe. He needs a pheromone match of at least 90%. We barely have any in the National Reserve. Don't make things worse. A perfect pheromone match is rare and precious. 40% matching is enough for two strangers to live peacefully together for life. 60% is already a match many envy. As for Beckett and me, we never tested. Before, it wasn't necessary. No matter the match level, Beckett never gave me the option of anyone else. Afterward, there was no chance. But now that Beckett forcibly changed his traits, could he have changed his pheromones too? I waited outside the isolation room for the match result. What would our match be? 60? With his temper, if he could choose, it'd probably be at least 80. But what if it didn't reach 90? What would he do then? The assistant said they coordinated supplies nationwide, but the biggest problem was Beckett himself. I wondered if I went in to persuade him, how likely would he be to change his mind? The assistant hurriedly opened the isolation room door and let me in. We're counting on you. Our entire department's quarterly bonus depends on this. Inside, Beckett lay quietly on the bed. His face was pale, looking fragile and vulnerable. I peeled off the patch from the back of his neck, letting my pheromones flow freely toward the person I hadn't touched in 4 years. Beckett stirred in his sleep and slowly opened his eyes. I wasn't in the mood to play along, so I said bluntly, "Give me pheromones. I'm about to suffocate." Beckett looked drowsy, seemingly confused by my presence again. Seeing this, I went rogue and helped myself. Just as I started unbuttoning, his hand caught mine. I paused and then bent down to plant a hard kiss on his face. "If you're going to say something like, 'I gave you the chance to leave and will never let you go again,' then shut your mouth." I held up the 100% match report the assistant gave me, right under Beckett's eyes. If this wasn't Beckett's doing, I'd go stand on my head at the Capitol's flag-raising ceremony. Beckett wanted to say something. My patience was running out. "Or maybe you want to explain why every time you go into heat, the clothes in my wardrobe get replaced with brand new ones, and this little bottle is also magical. I've used all the pheromone in it over 4 years. Whenever I'm not paying attention, it magically refills itself. Is it some kind of sorcery?" Finally, I tore off the obstructing clothes and let out a long breath. Just as I was about to lean down again, Beckett stopped me. I glared and expressed my displeasure clearly. "If you dare ask me who I am, I'll swallow you whole." Beckett sighed. "Cover the cameras over there first." He looked at the white blank surveillance screen and wisely muted the audio. "Master, do you think our bonus will double now?" The doctor ran a hand through his hair. "Why don't you go ask inside?" He immediately shook his head vigorously. The jasmine and green tea scents on the pheromone detector had already blended inseparably. He'd have to be crazy to go in now. Master tricked him again. 14. I knew I wasn't in a good state, just didn't expect it had been bad for so long. I hadn't even realized my memory was skewed, so the basement was fake too, right? I was locked in Beckett's arms, counting on my fingers to confirm each detail with him. "And the little dog I liked, you didn't secretly send it away out of jealousy, did you? And the school beauty situation wasn't on purpose either, right? You waited until your second differentiation as an omega to reverse mark me, because you worried if I, an alpha, was marked by an omega, others would see me as an outcast. The omega reverse mark wouldn't be noticed by others. You weren't trying to control me with pheromones, right?" Beckett grabbed my remaining fingers one by one. His face twitched, and a faint smile curved at the corners of his mouth. "You might be disappointed. Those things are all true." His transformation into an omega was carefully planned. Whether he marked me as an alpha or omega back then, my feelings were unclear and I would have just rebelled and left without hesitation. But if he lured me to mark him as an omega, then whether for morals or love, I wouldn't abandon him. The only surprise was his loss of control during heat, when he reverse-marked me first. My leaving 4 years ago was also under his control. One could say I've been living under his wing in a different way for these 4 years. No wonder there were so many unexplainable coincidences in life. I struggled to get up. "Move away. I'm not lying with a control freak." My struggling made Beckett's breathing quicken. He held me down. "When you've rested, we'll continue." "No, bro, master, let's talk more. Talk more." 15. Heat phase ended. Beckett, refreshed but with a pained look, was kept under observation at the hospital. Exhausted, I hurriedly escaped with a clumsy gait. The doctor recommended we both stay away from the previous environment, so Beckett and I decided to move in together to a villa he bought in my name. While packing, Roman showed up, looking worn out. "Colton, I'm just on a business trip. Why did you block me?" I unlocked my phone, puzzled. 1,400 friends trimmed down to 500. No doubt who did it. I briefly told him what had happened these days. Roman blurted sharply, "You love him, Colton. You're not Stockholm Syndrome, are you? He's so controlling and scheming. What do you see in him?" I glanced at the suitcase Roman held, then at the figure half hidden outside the door. I croaked out, "You came straight here after the plane, didn't go home?" Roman said, "Of course not. You suddenly blocked me. What if something happened? Although you refused me, we still have this revolutionary friendship. I wasn't at ease not seeing you." I nudged his body, quietly pointing at the beta outside the door, smiling softly. "Thanks for caring about me, but have you ever thought someone is thinking about you too?" Roman blushed and hurried off with his suitcase, ignoring me, but I was still pondering the question Roman left behind. Though Beckett was suspicious and controlling, he was also sincere and accepting. People are like that, flaws and strengths coexist, and I happened to love his strengths. I could accept his flaws. One could say he extended my life. 16. Humans are highly adaptable. After deeply understanding Beckett's flaws, I calmly accepted him showing up in my bed late at night. Why don't you wait till morning to come over? Couldn't wait to see you, couldn't wait to go home with you. I nodded, took a bite of the breakfast Beckett made, and said, everything's packed. Let someone pick it up. You come with me to pick someone up tonight. Beckett held it in all day, finally asked before we left, who are we picking up? A new friend? Do I know him? Is he staying at our place tonight? I pressed my lips, turned away to smile, then faced him again, feigning anger. Did you forget what that infant formula is for? Beckett opened and closed his mouth, finally silent. He actually forgot. I spoke seriously. Beckett, I know you have a temper, but the kid is ours. If you can't accept him, then I'm not moving in. I never said I can't accept him. That little bastard hogged you alone for 4 years. I have some feelings about that, don't I? He's only 3. That's still hogging. You even defend him. And he's not even here. Beckett's tone grew sharp. I was silent, relapsing again. Why aren't you talking? Think I'm being unreasonable again? I'm telling you, Colton, if you dare share the love you give me with him, I will definitely. I interrupted his needless drama. Watch the road. He was quiet a few minutes, then asked rapidly, you love me most, even with the kid, right? I glanced out at the willow-lined riverbank and quietly answered, when did you start liking me? Maybe when I was 18. That year, a rumor spread online about him and some little celebrity he'd never met. Fans shouted it was a perfect match, and I felt like a piece of me was ripped out. Beckett was my brother, only my brother. That was the first time I had the thought that no one else could stand next to Beckett but me. I was scared of the thought and afraid Beckett would hate me, so I buried it deep inside. Then I started chasing the school beauty. Every time Beckett lectured me about dating, my heart was full of twisted pleasure, until the accident that caused my unexpected differentiation at 19. Misplaced feelings reset to 0. Possessiveness was never only Beckett's trait. I smiled contentedly and said to the dissatisfied Beckett, secret. With Beckett murmuring, the car merged onto the main road, blending into the bustling traffic. In a few hours, we'd pick up the kid and return together. Among the countless lights, one belonged only to us.